To be notified of videos from this channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Back to another brand new episode of the Savant Life, and on this episode we're going to be reviewing the Duke 200 2017. Now, before you jump at me in the comment section, I know that this is not a 2017 version. This is in fact a 2016 model, but a lot of you were writing in to me asking me to do a review of the 2017 version. I told you that it is essentially the same bike, just a few minor upgrades here and there in terms of cosmetics, a few stickering changes, a few tire changes as far as the color is concerned. So what I'm going to be doing over here is I'll be killing two birds with one stone, wherein I will give you a first ride and review impressions of this bike. You just have to pretend like this is the 2017 version, which it essentially is, because it's pretty much the same bike. And also, from having spoken to my cousin, I will give you a little bit of how his ownership experience has been like. So it's time for us to get on to the Duke 200 and see what it has in store for us. And by the way, this is all for cinematic effect. Of course, I'm going to put on a pair of gloves and wear a helmet, and so should you if you're riding a bike, because you just can't be a squid these days. So here we are, all geared up and ready to go. And the first thing that strikes you about the Duke 200 as compared to the 250, the 390, is that the riding posture and the seating position are very, very comfortable. The reason for that is very obvious. This has an 810mm seat height, whereas the Duke 250 and the 390 are much, much higher and might not be suited for average-heighted Indian riders. Whereas this baby Duke has absolutely no problems whatsoever. It's very comfortable, and even though I'm on the taller side, I think that this is very necessary, especially when you're dealing with customers in the Indian market, and it is something that KTM should have kept in mind. Ooh, look at this Audi. So that was me checking out the braking of the bike, and even though this does not have ABS, just like the 250, I think the brakes on the 200 are actually better than the one on its elder sibling. I somehow think that this is more of a reasonable everyday commuter bike in the Duke series compared to everything else, the RC200, the Duke 390, the Duke 250. I think the Duke 200 is, without a doubt, their most reasonable offering. It checks all of the boxes, and it is a great all-rounder. For those of you who might be a little young, I think Yamaha for their FZ16 and KTM for their Duke 200 really revolutionized the naked street bike segment in India, because quite frankly, before that, that segment really did not exist. There was nothing in that segment whatsoever, and a whole generation of new bikes and bikers were brought up on the KTM Duke 200, and for that alone, this bike has its own rightful place in Indian biking history. Oh, there's a skeleton mark. Seems very appropriate to ride fast over here. And time to test the brakes again. Yep, they get the job done quite well. Very well, in fact. The acceleration on this bike also is something that I quite like, because I think especially if you're starting off and if you're in that 18 to 21 age category, then this is just the right kind of bike to get familiar with, to get comfortable with, to earn your stripes with, because it's powerful, but at the same time it's not too powerful. It's not something that you can't control. Ideally, the 390 is a fantastic bike, the new one that I'm talking about, the 2017 model, but I think it might just be an overkill for first-time riders who are looking to get started with their motorcycling experience. You gotta love the broad open roads of Koramangala with all of the leafy cover. Something strangely beautiful about that. And let's flick it around a little bit here. Yes, very comfortable. You never get the feeling that you're out of control, as long as you know what you're doing and as long as you have a reasonable amount of experience, having done this on several bikes before as well. It has quite a nice sound to it as well. It's grunty, but it's not way too over the top. It's permissible, it's all street legal, you don't need to worry about a thing, you don't need to worry about cops stopping you. Unless you're up to all kinds of shenanigans, pulling wheelies and stoppies in the middle of the road, then you're going to be in trouble, irrespective of which bike you might be riding. That's actually a pretty neat Royal Enfield bobber. And there, he just did his good deed for the day. People who are bikers always are watching out for other people, and that's what I like the most about them. About us, actually. It's just beautiful. This is a bike that if you have the money for it, if you're looking to buy an entry-level starting 200cc kind of a bike, and if you have the budget to spend about 1.5 to 1.7 lakhs, then I would recommend the Duke 200 over any of the other bikes. Now, of course, some people might have a preference towards the RS200, some people might have a preference towards the NS200, or they might just not have the budget to buy a Duke 200. Then those bikes are great alternatives. But if you have the budget for it, and if you really are a fan of the KTM brand, and you want to get that quintessential experience, which no other bike really can offer you in this segment, then the Duke 200 is an absolute no-brainer. I mean, just look at it go. It's very easy to corner as well. The only thing though that you need to be aware of as far as this bike is concerned is that it doesn't have a great turning radius. So if you're used to riding any other bikes in the 150cc segment, you're going to have to get used to the turning radius on this bike just a little bit. And of course it doesn't have ABS as well, but I guess you can't expect the world when you're going for a starting level bike. But overall, I have to say the Duke 200 is an incredible offering. There is a reason why it has done so well and captured the imaginations and the wallets of so many customers in India, and continues to do so even when it has competition from Yamaha, from Honda, from its own KTM stable in the likes of the 250 and the 390. There is a reason why KTM has not discontinued the baby Duke. And the reason for that is the KTM Duke 200 is an incredible starter bike, and you really can't ask for much more than that. It's so easy to flick around. It's just so easy to flick around. I love that about any bike. I think that's one of the reasons why I like naked street bikes way more than fared bikes, is because how easily you can throw them around the curves of city traffic. And the Duke 200 is just perfect for it. So while we're waiting in the signal, let me just tell you that as far as the cosmetic changes are concerned, one of the downsides perhaps in the new version in 2017 is that it doesn't come in this really nice black and white combination. The 2016 model came in that black and white combination with black wheels and a black chassis, and I think that looked really good, whereas you don't get a black chassis or black wheels in the 2017 version. In fact, somebody was asking me if they could get it painted in the aftermarket, but I really would not see any point in buying a brand new bike for about 1.7, 1.8 lakhs and then immediately getting the chassis and the wheels repainted in the aftermarket. Instead, you might actually be better off looking for a really good pre-owned Duke 200 from 2016 or 2015. So as you can make out, there's all of that open road over there, and it's time to push this baby to its limits. Whoa! That's some great power for a 200cc bike. Man, if they only had bikes like this back in the day, it would have been so much of fun. Sometimes I'm jealous of you 18 to 20-year-old kids growing up in this day and age with your fancy Dukes and your smartphones and your Instagram accounts and your Snapchat stories and whatnot. But hey, you gotta take the good with the bad. So as you can see, I've been waxing eloquent and singing praises about the Duke 200 and what a great offering it is, and believe me, it is. But of course there's downsides of every bike as well, and I was talking to my cousin to get an ownership review from him to see what I can share with you people. And essentially what he told me was that it's a good bike, but especially if you're riding it in the summers over long distances in city traffic, you will feel that radiator heating up and you will have those heating issues. Even though it's not a 250cc bike, it's not a 390cc bike, even the 200 has its own issues as far as heating is concerned. Again, these are not significant, these are not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that you would have to know, because the KTMs are not meant for a relaxed ride. You want a relaxed ride, you go get yourself a Yamaha or a Honda or one of those bikes, but the KTM gives you this excitement and this thrill and this energy, but at the same time it comes at a price, and that price is that your legs are going to feel like they're in the tandoor, especially in May, June and July when the summer is at its peak. Apart from this, he was also telling me that the clutch feels a little hard, and I guess this is something that other people also find to be the case with the Duke 200, but again, it also depends to a large extent on your own personal riding style. And lastly, some people might have this misconception that the bike is high maintenance and you would have to spend a lot of money on the service. Well, he's had this bike for about a year now, and all of the services that he's got done have been free services, wherein he's not really had to spend any kind of significant money on the maintenance of the bike or on replacing parts, because quite frankly, I think he's used it very well, and the bike has given him no problems whatsoever. So there you have it. That is my quick and easy impressions of the Duke 200. This is a 2016 model, but let's just pretend it's 2017, because like I said, the bike is essentially the same with a few stickering changes here and there. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, then do hit that like button, and if you have any questions for me, you can drop them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, if this is your first time around here at the Savant Life, then do hit that subscribe button, and also make sure that you turn on the notifications so that you can be notified every single time I put out new content. Thank you so much, take care, and I will see you in the next one.